So welcome back to Hustle and Soul. This is actually our take 2, because if you've been with us for a while, you know that Barry's warehouse next door has wrestlers for some reason, and they're like luchadores, and they go very ham, and they were making a lot of noise. But today I have a very special guest. Her name is Jasmine Arenas. If you think of the word sports, she is like the female figure that I would think about. I met Jasmine at Fox Deportes. We were both interns, and we were just talking about how crazy and amazing it is to see both of our journeys. Obviously, she lives in Colorado now, but we have both kept in touch through Instagram. We've been messaging each other here and there about our careers and just like following each other on the gram, keeping up with each other's lives. So I decided to invite her here today. On Hustle and Soul, we always talk about different people's stories, different people's real and raw experiences, careers, and real life. So I wanted to bring her on here because just like me and Barry, she is a girl from the hood, trying to make it big, and she's also a TV reporter in Colorado. I really wanted her to share her story because I think she is an ideal and very motivating figure for other people that are like us and look like us. So welcome, Jasmine.
Thank you, Arlene. Hey, I just want to give you a shout out to Ever Since Fox Deportes. Beautiful girl, dresses nice, always on point. Like, love her vibe. So.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And thank you for being here with us today. I'll let you take it away. I'll let you share your story. To give a little bit more context, I met her at Fox Deportes. She was working in programming. I was working in marketing, and we would both talk about our career goals. Sorry, I always knew Jasmine wanted to work in sports, and being a TV reporter, she had the biggest smile. She was always happy, and she was always out and shooting content. I remember you were always trying to get your foot in the door. You're definitely a go-getter. So tell us about yourself, where you come from, and what motivates you in life.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm a girl from the hood, grew up in South Central LA, and in Compton. I have a house in Compton. Just both of my parents really hardworking, kind of instilled that mentality in me at a young age. My mom, full-time teacher assistant, and then she went to school full-time as well, while my dad was trying to build his business as a, party supply business with jumpers and chairs and tables and all that stuff. So growing up, I always saw my parents work hard. Like, I never really saw them take a break type of thing. Like, they taught me, like, anything you want in life, you have to go after it. You have to hustle, and you have to have soul, just like this podcast.
Love that for you.
Yeah, in order to be able to make whatever you want out of your life. And my dad always told me this, like, if you're going to think about it, if you're going to work your entire life, do something that is going to make you feel happy at the end of the day. Do something that is like, that you're chasing, that you're not going to get tired of. And so I guess like that mentality just being instilled in me has led me to where I am now. And granted, I'm not where I want to be, but
we'll get there.
Like it takes time.
Yeah.
But like I said, like you can't just get to a destination and not have a story.
Yeah.
You have to be able to like tell a story. And so my story is like, I grew up in South Central LA, Compton, like all the hoods. Like I kind of just went by them. And went to school in the hood, and I kind of like understood what good influences were and bad influences were. Yeah. And my parents kind of just always told me, like, whatever you want out of life, you're going to get. If you want to be with, the bad influence, like, that's what you're going to get out of life. You want to go the good route.
Like, hard work will get you to whatever goals you want to achieve in life.
Yeah, basically. I feel like I just talk sometimes and just go.
No, you're good. You're good. We've talked about this a lot here too, but a lot of us come from immigrant families. So I think that hard work ethic is instilled to us at an early age. And it's kind of like, you have to make it. You have to make it because we made it. And we know that with hard work, anything can happen.
Yeah. And like my parents, they're citizens now, but they came to the U.S. at a young age.
Yeah.
Like my mom was brought here when she was 6. My dad was like 6 as well. Yeah. They both came from Mexico, grew up in the United States, and they both grew up in California. My mom was more so of like a privileged type in a way, because my grandpa worked and my grandma was a stay-at-home mom, so that she had that dynamic going on. Yeah. Whereas my father grew up with a single mom, so he had to grow up fast, and he didn't even get to finish school out here in like California, where you think like, okay, like you go to the States, you're going to eventually be educated and go to school like that. No.
Which is also like a whole dream that people have and then come here and end up like disappointed because that's not the case.
Yeah. A lot of times, especially when you're growing up with, just one parent, and it's hard for that parent too. And you have siblings, like you have to get to the workforce like early on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, definitely. We were talking a little bit offline. Tell us exactly your role in Colorado as a TV reporter.
Yeah, so I'm a TV news reporter at KRDO in Colorado Springs and Telemundo. Telemundo is the only station.
Oh, wow.
Well, the only Spanish-speaking station in the Colorado Springs area.
Yeah.
And so my role is to like give, I guess, 5-minute newscast every day, Monday through Friday, on like what's going on locally in Spanish. And then after I do that, like every morning I have to pitch stories and then go on and report an English story for the day.
Okay.
So I have 2 roles in one day kind of thing. And I'm also like a fill-in sports anchor, which is why I took the job there, because they were giving me that opportunity to do sports whenever one of the sports guys couldn't.
Yeah.
And so, as you know, like being a Latina in sports, like you're either going to do Spanish or you're going to work extra hard to get a role in English, because a lot of them don't look like me. Like they don't look like us really. We have to kind of just find our way. And so that's what I'm currently doing right now. Just working in Colorado, doing everything I have to do, being a Spanish influence in the area as well. Because again, like there's not a lot of Latinas really in Colorado Springs speaking for that community. So that's what I'm doing. And I feel like that's my purpose right now in life. Even though it's not my end goal, like
you're our representation where it's missing. Like I think you're not giving yourself enough credit for like the big role that you have.
Yeah, no, definitely. It is a big role. And I feel like, I don't know, right now it's important.
Yeah, no, definitely, especially with everything going on like politically and just like in society. But before we get a little bit more into how that role and where you are now, tell us how you got there. Tell us the journey. Tell us the hustle that had to go behind all of that. Some people go to college. Some people just network. What did Jasmine have to do to be able to get to Colorado? Because even though you've already achieved that, like I'm pretty sure there are little girls or other people currently in college that are trying to figure out how to get there. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I want to tell those young girls in college or just in high school that want to go this route that it's not easy, that you're gonna have long nights, you're gonna have to work hard, you're gonna have a lot of self-doubt, and then you kind of just have to squash that doubt in order for you to grow, and in order for you to squash like whatever people think about you, like the negative perception. But I went to Cal State Fullerton right after high school. That was the route I took, and it was kind of hard because there's not a lot of connections. When you think about Cal State Fullerton, you don't really, well, now it's different, but back then, 2014, 2013, it wasn't really like a school where journalists win. Like you didn't think of it as like, oh, if I go there, I'm going to get a job at CNN after, I'm going to get to intern at CNN or something like that. Like it was kind of something that you had to work hard for because the connections were just not there at the moment. So for me, like, I took it as a challenge. I was like, okay, I'm going to Cal State Fullerton. I'm getting my education paid for. I'm first generation college student. Like it's going to be okay. Yeah. And I kind of just took that positive attitude and I started just looking for these internships. And I got to intern at Fox Deportes, Fox Sports West, did some stuff with Power 106, Spectrum, Sportsnet. And in just doing all these things, I realized like, okay, like the college you go to doesn't really matter. It's your hustle. Like, what are you going to do? About it? Like you can go to the smallest college ever and then still make it because it's like everything that you put in or like look for or go after, it's going to happen if you really want it. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, for sure.
So that's a little bit about my journey. So going to Cal State Fullerton, making these connections, and then going to small markets. So a lot of times people are like, well, if you intern at these big places, like, why don't you just get a job there? Like,
it's not that easy.
Newsflash.
And to be honest, like, and I'm so glad you're here to do this because I've talked about this on the episode. I told you this when we first met. I thought I wanted to be an entertainment reporter. And I feel like I took a couple courses like at UCLA, like not as like a college student, just like on the side. And that's one of the things they tell you. They're like, if you want to make it in this in this career, you have to move out of state. Like, you have to like find your way. And even then, like, the pay can be very little. It just depends. It depends on you and like how hard you work. And that like unmotivated me because I was already working like in entertainment and in different realms. And I was just like, okay, like I'm already working in marketing. Like, I'll just take this route because it was easy, to be honest. And I was like, I feel like this is going to work out for me. So I really admire that about you, that you're making it happen and you're paving the way.
No, and it's really hard. Like, it does demotivate you when you sit down and think like, dang, I'm going to have to be away from family. Like, I'm going to have to be at a small market.
Because it's not only like a career change, it's like a life, like a lifestyle change and like culture shock.
And sometimes
like,
you're not ready for it.
Yeah.
It's not glitz and glamour, your first market, not even your second market. Like, even in Colorado, I'm doing a lot better than I was in Yuma. And I really appreciate it a lot more.
So you started off in Arizona, but so this is your second. Okay,
this is my second market. Cool. So I started off in Yuma, Arizona. That was my first market like 160 something on the TV index. Like,
on the TV index, yeah, like, that still exists.
On the Nielsen or whatever, like. Yeah, way down. Like, it's not even a market that you kind of think like, oh, I'm gonna go there. Like, no, people are like, oh, I want to start off in LA. I want to start, but. I don't know what I can tell you though. Is like, if you start off at a big market right off the bat, you don't last long because you don't build that hustle. You don't build that grit. You don't know how to survive.
Yes, I was going to say that. Like, you're just so used to being placed and like, this is LA. And then I think a lot of things that people don't think about just in life, and even things that I've experienced, and I'm not even like in such a niche like market or role, is in entertainment, there are a fuck ton of layoffs. Like, people get laid off left and right. Like, COVID just hit. Like, people lose their job. And it's not necessarily a say about your performance. It's just like, yo, this is life. Or like, sometimes companies don't even have money to pay people. So it's like, snip, snip. Like, you're gone.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
I feel like working in LA, it's like, that's where everybody also wants to be. So it's as easy as it may be to get there. Like, it's easy to have it be gone.
Yeah. The faster you get, I don't know, this is what I've learned growing up. Like, the faster you get somewhere, the faster it's easier for you to let it go, or for someone to let you go, or like, because you haven't built yourself as a journalist or whatever it is. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. That's what I'm learning. Like, okay, someone that starts off in a big market, like, good for you. Like, that was your path. Cool. Like, God bless you, because starting off in a small market is hard. But again, you build grit, you build tenacity. You're able to kind of just grow from that and learn, like, oh, like, I'm really that big. Like, I'm that girl. You know what I mean? Like,
I love
dang,
that.
like, I really, like, I would go and anchor a whole show, and then after go shoot a football game, and then after cut those highlights and write those highlights, and then go anchor the 10 p.m. show, and then go anchor like a whole football show. Like, it's, you know,
thing after thing.
And it's just like, okay, sometimes you kind of do feel like, when am I going to get my big break? Like, when is this hard work going to actually pay off?
Yeah.
Because it's a lot. Like, I don't just go on Instagram and say, hey, like, I'm talking football today. It's so fun. Look at me. My outfit's cute. Like, no. It's like, dang, like, I got to get up in the morning. I got to make sure that, I get a workout in. I got to make sure that I do this. I got to make sure that I do that I write my, like, there's like, and I'm going kind of like on a whole tangent,
but that's important, because I feel like when people see TV reporters and when people see radio hosts, they're like, they're lucky because they get to talk on TV, or they get to look cute on TV. And like, that's all they see, because all they see is you for 20, like, when people are watching this, they're not going to know like the shit show that the luchadores did for us, or like us sweating because there's no AC in here and we're like low key want to pat ourselves, or they're not going to know that we literally had to physically move everything over here. They're just like, oh, how cool, they're on YouTube. Like, they have a YouTube channel, right? So it's like, I feel like people don't appreciate all of the work that goes behind it. It's just kind of like, they're lucky, like they get to talk on camera, and it's like, I wish I could do that. But it's like, it's not just a wish. Like, it's not just us sitting here looking cute, even though today I didn't get ready. But there's a lot of work behind it, right? There's like setting up, there's writing your stories, like there's a whole bunch of things that happen behind the scenes that people don't know about it unless you actually talk about it.
Yeah, and then people just go on and like judge you based off whatever product you put out. Yeah. And it's kind of like, okay, like you didn't know that I spent all 20 hours trying to
my whole
put this
day
out for you, but okay, I guess. Dang. Like, no, but that's definitely what it is. And I guess like sometimes you just get stuck and you just like, okay, when is this going to pay off? Like what's going on? Like, what is God trying to tell me in my journey?
So I really like that you're saying that, because before you just mentioned that, you said sometimes you have self-doubt or you feel like, what am I doing? How do you overcome that? Because obviously you said like Yuma, I don't know if that was it for me, like Colorado, I'm doing better. So with anything, especially being Latina, especially being a woman, how do you overcome that? Like, how do you remind yourself like Jasmine is that bad bitch that's going to go out there and get it and is going to be poolside on Hustle and Soul one day?
Yeah, like, right.
Like how do you do that? Because for some people, that's not an easy thing. For some people, they'd sit home and they'd cry and it's like, fuck that, I'm eating my tub of ice cream and we're calling it a day. But which is okay, and we do.
But you know, like that's what you do. Like that's what I do too. Like sometimes I'll have like, there's been times where I'll just like sit in my car, in my news car, and like news flash. If you've seen me, you've seen me. And I'll just break down and be like, gosh, I got to do this hard news story today. Like, gosh, like I really don't want to. Like, God, just give me the strength. Like, just pray and put your head down and do it. And then it's so crazy because God rewards you. Like, and for me, a reward is like, oh, you get to fill in today. I was like, what? Like for sports? Okay, cool. Like I'm happy going to work. But like I said, self-doubt comes on a lot, especially when you're on TV. Like, you don't look a certain way sometimes and you feel down, or like,
and like as women we go through a lot of shit, so it's like it's hard to always be like on your shit and look good and perfect.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you're a mom, so it's probably a lot harder for you. No, and I can't imagine, because I'm like, I can't imagine being a mom. I was like, it's hard just taking care of yourself all in one. So I guess just praying, a lot of prayer. And if you have to cry, you have to let that emotion out. Like you can't just let it eat you up. Yeah. And then just talking yourself up, kind of like just saying like, okay, like look, you're not there right now, but you're going to be there. Like you just have to believe in yourself. And also studying your stuff, like knowing your shit. Like if you know your shit, like that kind of calms your anxiety. Like, you know what? I studied. I know what I'm talking about. I listen to these podcasts, these sports podcasts. Like I know what I'm saying.
I know what's out there.
Yeah. Like you just have to talk yourself up and be okay. Cause I know I'm hard on myself. Like even when I get a chance on like to fill in for sports reporting or anything, I'm like, I know they're going to be like looking at what I know. I know they're going to be like, okay, why does this girl want a chance? Like, is this girl a cookie cutter sportscaster, or does she know what she's talking about? Yeah. And that's like, dang, like, in the back of my head, I'm like, why do I have to prove myself so much? Like, why can't I just talk?
And it's so funny to hear you say that, because if I knew a girl that knew her sports like the back of her hand, it would probably be you. Yeah. You know? So.
I mean, and it's not because I know because I played. It's not.
No, because it's you know. I yeah.
It's because like I sit there and like I look at these players and I'm like, okay, what do I have to know about this player? Like, okay, what am I going to talk about? Like, what's the big storyline? And that's what I want to tell girls out there. Like, if you do want to do sports, if it like motivates you or whatever you want to do, you can do it. Just work hard, study your craft, and just put out the energy that you have for it.
And I think a lot of it is believing in yourself, like a lot. And I appreciate Barry because he helps me out with that. I'm really bad.
That's awesome.
I'm like the worst like self-critic, and like I'll get in my head so bad where I'm just like, no, like what about this or what about that, or wait, like I don't have this or I don't have that. And it's like, but you have everything else. Like you have it. You're just doubting yourself. And I think that's something like we can all work on.
Yeah, no, definitely. You just have to get over it. You just have to get over yourself in your head. Yeah. Because you're your biggest critic. Yes. And like whatever else somebody says, like the other day somebody was trying to tell me something. And I'm like, you know what? I'm very self-aware. Whatever you're probably going to tell me, I probably know already. Yeah. So being self-aware helps too. Just knowing how you carry yourself and who you are. And like, if you have lipstick in your teeth and you know you have lipstick in your teeth, like remove it. Like, I don't know. Somebody's like, you have, I know. Like, you know, that's like an example of being self-aware.
Yeah, no, I love that. So one thing we talked about offline is the obstacle of being a Latina. and how that kind of puts you in a certain zone. I feel the same way, and I can't only imagine being like a public figure. So at work, there have been many instances where there have been, not my current job, I don't want to like put them on blast, but in the workspace, the work field that we're in, there can be like a lot of like racist remarks or like sexual remarks. You're on TV. So like you said, I go to the gym, you know, I do all these things. What's that experience like? I would really like to highlight that because I know one, like a lot of people will relate to, but I also want to open up like the conversation to these are the things that we experience because a lot of people relate to that too. Or maybe some people are unaware where it's like, hey, this is what Latinas go through. Like, respect us.
No, yeah, definitely. I feel like we have, and I'm not saying like at my current market this happens a lot, but Latinas have a lot of sex appeal, period. Like,
yeah.
I feel like we bring
and that's not a bad
like,
thing.
It's just something that, it's just who we are. Like, the way we speak, the way we talk. And I feel like sometimes, like, people who don't know how to approach us could kind of offend us in a way. Like, oh, you're wearing that tight dress, or like, oh, like those curves or whatever. And it's like, I don't know, like, we don't want to be known for that. When I've been on the field before with like when I fill in for sports reporting, and sometimes like I had this person come up to me, he's like, oh, like, I've seen you on Instagram, like, you've got these curves, and it's just like, what? Like, why can't you talk to me about like the game? Like, why can't we focus on like what's going on? So I don't know if that's a like Latina thing or just being a woman, but it is something that we experience. But also, like, being the only Latina in the newsroom that speaks Spanish, and granted, I don't speak it like marvelous. You have a lot of pressure on you to perform, a lot of pressure on you to be that person, that spokesperson for the community. And that's a lot of pressure. Like, sometimes when I mess up on a word or I mispronounce a Spanish word, like, those people come after me. The community comes after me. It's like, Jasmine, like, why? Like, are you representing us like this? Or da-da-da-da. And it does get to you.
Selena did it. I can do
Selena,
it.
Right? I'm like, me siento happy. Like, what? Me siento muy happy. No, but like, I do see her as a role model in that sense. Because I'm like, okay, she did it. Like, if she reads a teleprompter, she could like flawlessly read it. But if she's talking to you outside of the prompter, like, she might mess up a little bit. And that's kind of like where I'm at too. Like I said, there's a lot of pressure. It kind of just comes in the newsroom where it's like, okay, like, there's an immigrant story here. Like, can you cover it? Or like, there's this type of story here. Can you cover? And I'm not trying to talk like, no, like, I take that role proudly. Like, I will do those stories because I'm passionate about telling these stories. I'm in the community and I'm going to do it. But it's also kind of like, okay, well, is it only because I'm Latina that, like, am I like a golden ticket here? Like,
gotcha.
I don't know. It does cross my mind sometimes because I feel like, I don't want to talk, like, I'm not saying that my station is doing that to me, but I'm saying, like, I'm sure a lot of Latinas probably feel this way if they're the only one in the newsroom.
No, totally understand that, especially for me at work. So when I started at my job, or even like previous roles that I've been in, we do a lot of distribution to the Latin American market. A lot of things have to get versioned. A lot of things have to get translated. And it's always like, Arlene, can you translate this? Arlene, can you make the call to like Univision? Or Arlene, can you do this? And it's like, this is kind of not part of my job description. Like, I'm going to do it because I can do it. And like, I'm a team player, but it's like, shouldn't I be getting paid more for this? You know, like little things like that do cross my mind. So I definitely,
and that's a lot of work for you too. Like, I don't know why people don't see that.
Yeah. Or it's like, why don't we just hire somebody, like hire a versioning team or like hire someone to do things like that? But it's kind of like, almost like, am I being taken advantage of too? Or it's like, am I doing more work than we should be? So I totally understand that, but I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that too.
Yeah, no, definitely. We did a whole COVID-19 special for the Hispanic community, well, for Telemundo. And it was important because out there in Colorado Springs, where I'm working, the market that I'm working, there's not a lot of Latinos being vaccinated. Like, they don't believe in the vaccine. A lot of them are hesitant. So that special is so important for like the community, and like the city was involved. and the hospitals like in the city were involved, and it was just like a whole big thing.
Yeah.
And so like a lot of pressure again was on me to perform, to be able to get that information out, to do these interviews with these doctors in Spanish. And not only that, but I also had to translate the whole thing in Spanish. And that was like, it literally took me all night. Like I had to be on the like translating the whole thing, like the
and
whole
like
script.
we're kids that grew up here that we do speak Spanish, but like you, my Spanish is not perfect, so it's almost like double work. Like you gotta go to Google Translate and be like, is this word like on my phone? I'll use like the Spanish like keyboard to make sure I'm spelling things correctly. And
I don't want this to get translated as like, oh, they're like, they don't know what they're talking about, they're not real Latinas. Like, no, that's not true. Like correct, we grew up in the US where I mean, we were taught English in school, not really Spanish, like only if you chose to in high school, but it wasn't really a thing. And then like you go home and you speak like Spanglish because your parents speak Spanglish. And it's, I don't know, like I am a proud Latina. I love my culture. I love corridos and all that, but I also mess up with my Spanish, and I hate that people come after me for that. Like, I don't know.
No, that's totally understandable. But yeah, that's a lot of work. Like that's a lot of work for you on top of all the things that you're doing.
So.
But thank you for sharing that. And I know that can be a little bit intimate because that's not necessarily like your career thing. That's almost like a personal thing because it's like your career, but it's also part of your personal life because that's your culture. I don't know. So it can be like touchy to talk about, but I appreciate you sharing that because I know a lot of people have experienced that. But I have 2 questions for you, and then you could share like anything else you'd want to share. Okay, so in Hustle and Soul, we always talk about like hard moments. Barry's talked about his hard moments. I've talked about my hard moments. Tell us about your hardest moment in this journey so far. And I'm going to throw in a little bit more on there. Have you ever felt like quitting?
Oh man, yes, yes. When I first, when my contract was up in Yuma, it was so difficult because I didn't have a job lined up. And even though I had been trying for a year to get a sports job, it just wasn't happening for me. And it was so frustrating because these news directors at like top markets would be like, oh my God, you have so much potential. Like you're going to do great. But no one would hire me. And it was so frustrating, like just being in that bubble of like, okay, like who's going to actually give me a chance? Who's going to take a chance with me? And no one would. And that
makes you excited, right? That makes you excited because that's happened to me before too. Obviously, like completely different roles, but they're like, "Oh, you're so good," or "You this," or like apply, or like, "I'll help you." Like I know, I'll give you my HR contact, and then the day comes and you're like, "I need you." Like put in the word or like hire me, and it's like either silence or like, "Oh, I really don't know what's going on right now," and it's just like. Then don't say anything from the beginning because I'm excited and now you just let me down.
Yeah, so like they pump you up, they build you up, and then they're like, oh, sorry, we gave the job to somebody else. Or sorry, we don't have that opening right now. And it's like, okay, what's going to happen? So that was like probably one of the hardest things in my career that I had to go through was just like waiting around for an opportunity that it was actually going to be valid and take me to the next level. So I had to stay a year in Yuma, and I mean, granted, it was hard, like the whole pandemic year, which was last year, like it was hard, but I stayed, and it was good in a way because I was able to still see my family. Yuma's like 4 hours away from LA, like it wasn't bad. But granted, now that I'm in Colorado, it's so hard being away from your loved ones. Like just being out there, like you got to think about it. Like in hindsight, I'm a 26-year-old woman in Colorado doing what I have to do, not really doing like what I am passionate about, but just like, you know, trying to get a chance, you know, in order for me to grow and get that real. And then you're away from your support system. And then like you have to kind of just try to build a support system, but it's never the same. Like the people that love you, that believe in you, that know who you are, that like run to you every time you come home, like they're not there. They're not there to see the everyday struggle or like to lift you up.
Do you feel like sometimes like you can't even share your hard times like with your family because it's almost like I'm too far away, I don't want you to feel bad?
Yeah. And sometimes you feel like you're never, I don't know, this is too deep, but maybe I sometimes feel like I'm never really missed because I'm always away. Like, it's always like I'm always gone. I'm always doing something. Like, I'm always alone. I feel like that. Like, I'm always like by myself, doing what I have to do, chasing a dream. And it's like, it would really break me if I don't, like, I feel like I've come too far. It will really break me if I don't even try to, like, get that job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, that makes sense. Yeah, and that's
like,
that's very admirable, because not a lot of people can do that. I mean, like, this is like kind of a good example, but not really. But I used to be in theater, and a lot of people that had potential, could sing, could do all that. They're like, wait, you mean to tell me that I have to go here to like have this dream? Like, nah, I'm gonna be a teacher. Like, I'm not gonna.
Good. Yeah, because a lot of people don't want to do all that, because it's hard. Like, you're not just gonna get up and go and leave your whole family. Like, granted, like, I had to take a week off because I miss my family so much, because I don't see them often, and like, they know how important they are to me and just helping me get to the next level.
Yeah,
like, I don't
know. Like a recharge.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. So we really appreciate you being here.
No, thank you. I want like reporters out there to know that, like, upcoming reporters, young reporters, like, you're gonna miss your family.
And that's something that's not talked about. And that goes back to, like, everybody thinks this is glitz, this is glamour, this is fun, they're so lucky, but it's like, nobody would see you on Instagram or like on TV and be like, oh, she's missing her family. They're just like, she's on TV. Like, cool, like, she fucked up her Spanish. But it's like, yo, what if I had a bad day, you know? And like things like that too. I feel like that's a lot of pressure to be a public figure, because people have bad days. Like, I can only imagine, like, I have shitty ass days, and sometimes I just want to sit there and cry. So it's like, you forget, you snap out of it, and you just go on TV, and not a lot of people like have the ability or like the power to do that. Yeah,
you just have to get up and go. And like, I know there's been times where I'm like really down on myself, and like, it's like 10 minutes to air, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm emotional today. Like, I miss my mother. I need a hug. Like, the story was so hard. Like, oh my God. And then I just kind of have to do it. Like, I have to go on air and do it.
And that's another thing. I'm trying not to like talk so much, but I think it's very important. Like, when you're a reporter, you're talking about stories. Like, we're talking about your story right now, but you're talking about other people's stories, other people's lives. Like, you want to do sports, but in the meantime, right now, you're talking to the community. You're talking about the community, reporting on COVID, which is just a fucking crisis, like, on its own. And that's a lot of emotion and like emotional attachment. And if you do an interview with a kid, or like sometimes accidents happen, like, I can't only imagine how mentally draining that is.
No, I've done stories where like a kid died just crossing the street, got hit by a car, and I had to be out there with his family, and like, literally, they were pressuring me to get his family on camera to talk to me. Like, their kid just died. Like, it's so hard. And sometimes you think, like, what if that was my little brother? Like, oh my God, I would not want to talk to you. So you kind of just have to get in the role of like, okay, how am I going to get this family to talk to me? Even though it seems so vain at this point, like, I have to get this for TV. Like, I don't know. Like, it's just so hard. So I always try to like relate to the families that I do stories on, because it's important. Like, it's important to have a heart. And I know, like, a lot of times the people that I do stories on will come back and write me an email or like send me a message like, thank you so much for like
awesome.
Being human.
Yeah, for sure. And that's good, because a lot of people are not human, period. And
a lot of them are like, go after the story, and it's like, that's not me at all. Like, I don't know, maybe if it's because I'm not doing what I want to do, but I'm not gonna try to go after the story if it's gonna obviously
impact you in a negative
you're
way.
Hurting, you're crying, you just lost a family member. I did another story where they lost literally 12 family members, like, in one. God. It was a massacre. It was a birthday party massacre. Like, this boyfriend came to a house.
Oh my God.
Was jealous that he wasn't invited, killed her, her mom, her sister, her brother, like,
oh my God.
Just everybody. And then there was obviously family members who stayed behind who were like destroyed that they lost their whole family.
For sure.
And they only spoke Spanish, and they were like, Jasmine, go out and do that story. And I was kind of just like, are you serious right now?
Yeah. But that's also part of the job, and
it's part of the job. You kind of have to just do it.
Yeah. And but so, good to know for people out there.
Yeah. Like, also, you don't make money in your first market. In your second market, you're okay. But your first market, you don't make any money, so do not expect to make. And don't rack up on credit cards, because that was my mistake. Don't do it. If you're broke, just be broke.
Yeah,
it's okay.
Eat cup of noodles.
You'll be okay. You'll be okay. Yeah, just eat. Like, you're fine.
Yeah, I love that. But that's real, and like that's what it is. And if that's the career you want, that's what you're gonna go
sacrifice.
through.
Yeah,
sacrifice. Let's talk about good things now. That was a little down, but it's very important, specifically for this career, and to reach your goals. What has been your proudest moment so far as a TV reporter?
Actually, I have a lot of proud moments.
That's good.
Now to think about it. Well, like in Yuma, I was able to create a whole Friday night football show for my station.
Yeah.
And so I was, the producer and the anchor and the writer for all of that. So I thought that was cool that I was able to do that. And bring that to that channel.
Yeah.
And then I also was able to host, like in Colorado Springs, I was able to host a Lupio Rivera concert with like Chiquis and all of them. And I think that was cool, just getting up there and introducing the artist. But I guess like just overall being able to tell stories that impact the community and that have like a purpose that are going to help out people if they watch it. Like I've done stories before where it's about a job fair or something, and nobody, like in the newsroom, that's not a big deal. Like in the newsroom, that's kind of like, oh, like you did a job fair story, that's easy. Yeah. But then there's people actually who need a job out there who are looking for this information. So they reach out to you.
You'll have like a direct impact on.
Yeah. They're like, oh, they're hiring here, or they're doing this for this. Like, okay, cool. Like, yeah. My voice got all mocking, but no, like that's basically like, I guess my proud moment is just being able to tell these stories and help out people who need it. So
very cool. One more question. What's in store for Jasmine? Like, where do you see yourself? Like, what's your ideal role? And some of the episodes I've literally like have had people like describe like what they envision for themselves. And I think that's a very good thing too, because I feel like Barry and I talk about this a lot, but like you have to manifest things. Like you have to put that shit in the world, and you have to say this is gonna happen. And for us, it's kind of worked. But I feel like I'll take the small wins, you know. So like, tell us, like, what do you envision for yourself? What are your goals, and where do you see yourself besides like being on the second, like another episode of Hustle and Soul poolside with drinks at some like mansion or cabana?
Your mansion. I eventually want to be a host on SportsCenter, so I hope that happens. It will.
It's gonna happen.
I want to be able to just be a face for like our community, like for Latinas to be like, oh, like she did it. She's brown, and she's well spoken, and she's on the SportsCenter. Like if she did it, I could do it. Like just inspire people in that way. So that's my end goal eventually, and I also want to have a swimwear line.
Cool.
But I didn't want to say bikini, but
swimwear line. You were right.
I want to have my own swimwear line eventually down the line. So, but that's my goal. Like eventually get on SportsCenter, get on a show and host it. So,
is there anything like special behind the swim line? Like a special like message? Like I know, who was it? I think Sports Illustrated did like something for like all bodies and things like that. Or is it just like the Jasmine Arenas? Like,
no, it would be like, okay, so my vision is like to have it be named Slice.
Okay.
And just like, I don't know, slices come in all shapes and sizes.
I like that. Yes, so like, that's cool.
Why not? Like everybody get a swimsuit and have their own style, and I don't know, I'm really like an advocate for body types. Obviously, like I've like struggled with my body type all the time, even though people wouldn't know, because they're like, oh, like you look fine, like you're good.
Everybody says you look fine, and you're like, I have fucking complexity issues, help me.
Like whatever it is that you struggle, like everybody has their own struggle with their bodies and stuff. So for me, it's like being able to feel sexy in a swimsuit without like the judgment of the world, and just
or any
living
restrictions,
that, or
having the sizes,
and living that out. I don't know. I want my swimwear line to be inspiring to women. I mean, like I'm all for inspiring the women and making sure that she feels beautiful in her body.
Well, that's very cool. We know you're going to achieve your goals. You've come very far, and I think you should be very proud of everything that you've achieved. And then to end it off, I want you to look into the camera, and I want you to give some inspiring words to people that are watching this, whether it's Latinas, whether it's girls that are trying to be the next Jasmine Arenas or TV reporter, the little girls that are looking at you at Colorado. What would you say?
Yeah, definitely. Hold on, I have it here. obviously like Kobe Bryant is like a big inspiration to Los Angeles and like to myself too, just growing up an LA girl. Like obviously I watch his games. He was very important to me. Everything that happened like in the way that he passed away was like very emotional and stuff.
Yeah.
Don't want to get emotional. But this is it. Like this quote, and you guys probably know it if you're from LA, you know, but this quote is everything and it gets me through so much. Everything negative, pressure, challenges is all an opportunity for me to rise. And that's what you got to remember. Sometimes when you're in that hard position where you're like, dang, like, how am I going to do this? Like, it's just an opportunity for you to show that you're that girl, that you're that woman, that you got it. So
I love that.
Yeah.
That's the perfect way to end this. So thank you for sharing that. And thank you for sharing your story with us today. I know it's going to inspire people. I know people are going to be motivated by this. And we appreciate you. We appreciate you going with us through this shit show of like having to record this. Like we mentioned, I wish everybody only knew like the hard ass work that goes behind these productions and things like this. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching Hustle and Soul. And before we leave, let us know where we can find you. What is your Instagram name?
Yeah, my Instagram is, well, my personal Instagram is JA26News. You can find me on there. You can send me a message if you're a reporter or aspiring reporter watching this. Please send me a message. Like I will be more than happy to, I don't know, if you need an internship, guide you through that, or like if you need a job for your first market, I got you. Like just send me a message and I'll respond.
Perfect. Thank you, Jasmine.
Thank you.
And thank you for tuning in. Bye.